and today we're going to be talking about real estate. When you see Mr. Vincent on set, you know it's all about real estate, the things that are affecting us, the things we're benefiting from, and where our market is at right now. It's a pleasure having you on set, Vincent.
Thank you, Christabel, and I appreciate.
But I'm saying, have you sat down to think about what it is you want to invest in? Or is it buying that condominium apartment and foregoing that Mercedes Benz and still using public transportation and buying your condominium apartment that is affordable and go to a rent to own basis? Anyway, with Vincent, we still get to talk about all these things, and that is why last Sunday when we spoke to him, we felt the need to continue our conversation today.
I know people also still understand that land is more secure than ever.
True.
Because
true.
the operational costs about that investment for the buyer are higher and the land
Than
is
the
lower.
land, yes.
I buy the land, I leave it there. As long as it's sure, it's appreciating.
It's appreciating, true.
The buyer have operational costs, waiters and all these things and blah blah,
rent,
rent and so
utilities,
forth.
yes.
So I am sure that again within the buyer's market, people who have money are still looking at real estate as one of the first choices. Of course, we have the treasury bills, the bonds, the financial market. But traditionally in Uganda, we have seen that real estate becomes one of the priorities. Now, that's what makes it that we are going to see if you are to push the market. There are other factors, for example, the interest rates. If people are going to borrow money from the bank, what do we do? So there is the evolution of circles, people combining money, the saving schemes, all these kind of things. So we need to encourage those also efforts. So those who cannot afford to be in the traditional financial mortgage market are able to pull funds together to still invest. But we are also seeing the banks introducing microfinance products.
Products, yes, like Zimba
Mpola Housing Finance Bank. Those are all geared towards pulling the buyers or to turn the buyer's market into a seller's market so that it is affordable. The other issue is, of course, these programs which you are running, sensitizing the public that actually in retirement, there will be two things that all of us we shall be looking for. Have my children finished school? That will be number one of our priority. I can tell you, Christabel, once you have reached that age and you have shelter based on your head, the next thing is, have I given my child the future in terms of education?
Push forward.
Number two will be a home. Where do I rest? And that home must be sitting on a piece of land. So these priorities are critical. So what we need to do is keep emphasizing the awareness that yes, you can invest in many things, but don't forget that the best way you're going to retire will be those walls and that piece of land,
which is needed.
There we are pushing the market from being a buyer's market somehow towards the seller's market. How do we retire? Now, if we do those, we are able. But the other one, which is fundamental for me, is housing is a basic need. So if I was to choose investments in my world, where do I invest to make money but also make impact? Housing, food, clothing, and any other follows. Health, education, etc. So also to try and talk to ourselves and say, if we are to choose investments, if we have money, let us invest in what we call essential services, basic goods of the world. And in that way, we are able to help the world at the same time make money. So that kind of mindset orientation around investment to the country will push the market from being just a buyer's market to a seller's market.
The economy we're looking at right now, what advice would you give to a new home buyer?
In my view is that one, of course, security of the land tenure. Yes, when you're looking at buying a home, is the land tenure secure? So is the title authentic? Is it fine? Today, Ministry of Lands, Housing and Urban Development has launched an online portal for title searches. Do due diligence, because most of the issues we are facing in the market are around the conflicts around land authenticity. Check the land. Number two, I would like to tell anyone who's listening that home does not have to be a huge home. It has just to be a decent home. And a decent home means you must have a home which is not leaking, should have access to water, should have access to power, it should have some greenery around it where you can settle. So for me, that is very important. So waiting for that big home, and in the meantime, you are not doing anything. To me, that would be a wrong approach. So, as I said, Zimba Mpola is a good model. Buy a piece of land, go and do your foundation, go and build the walls and so. But we are not encouraging for us so much the issue of informal housing. What we are saying is, can we also encourage developments into the housing sector through institutional arrangements? But that is not between me and you.
True.
That's an institutional arrangement, government,
Government,
etc.
yes.
How do we have the likes of the national housing and construction companies building more houses that are affordable? How do we have, for example, partnerships between the national housing and construction company, NSSF, and the Housing Finance Bank
getting together to actually build for the common man?
Exactly. We
the
have
low-income earner.
Yes, we have segments of the employment in this market, public servants,
That
the
do not
armed
have
forces,
homes.
in terms of police, UPDF, and, for example, prisons. How do we build houses for these people
For
at
these people,
affordable
for these
rates?
public servants, true.
Exactly. How do we tap into that? How do we build houses for teachers, for medics, for name that category? Because they are known. But to do that, you need, for example, affordable financing.
True.
You need some intervention of granting options from what we call multilateral organizations, these development agencies.
You need tax holidays.
You need tax holidays, and you need some level of credit that you have as institutions. So the institutions that I've just mentioned, National Housing and Construction Company, NSSF, Housing Finance Bank, supported by Ministry of Finance and Ministry of Lands, Housing and Urban Development, they should be able to intervene in the sector
and push it forward.
And that way, I would like to talk to even government itself, that these organizations can make return for government.
True, they can.
Because they will develop a product, put it on the market, but the income which they make, the profit goes back to government.
True.
For delivery of other services to the population.
Yes.
So this is the way how we should be able to think. And with that, I think we can actually pull the economy to create a some resemblance of balance between the seller's market and the buyer's market. That's my view, Kristen.
What would you say is actually driving the overvaluation of property in Uganda right now? Because when we look at our market right now, properties are being overvalued as compared to their actual property value. What is bringing this? What's causing it?
The answer between me and you is speculation. Speculation, for just matters of understanding, is the artificial creation of a certain price or value which actually is not anchored on science. Christabel, today you have a plot of land and I'm your neighbor. You get a suspected buyer, you sell it at, say, 300 million when it's supposed to be 200 million. I look at your property and mine, I see, oh, they have the same characteristics. I also automatically put mine at 300 because you sold at 300. Now, how you got your buyer, I don't know. Probably this is someone who just had money and immediately wanted to buy something. But it's not based on science. Now, what we are doing, me and you, we are creating a price. We are creating a market. Now, immediately in that neighborhood, all the properties go at 300 of similar value. Now, we make it worse by having what we call real estate agents and brokers who know, Christabel, you work at the property show and you disclose completely in confidence to them and say, look, you know what, Vincent, I have my 500 million. Look for me a house.
Oh, yes.
That's what we, as professionals, do. Because we are busy in banks, in telecoms, but we don't have that time to go around and look for the thing for ourselves. We have this broker. We tell him, I have 500 million, go and look for me a house. This guy knows you have 500 million. He goes into Hugo and says, look, someone who is selling a house at 300, and he says, actually, I know someone who can buy it for you, from you at 400. Because his interest is percentage commission. Because the percentage goes up with the value.
Yes.
So the property which was 300 million is sold
now
at 400. Because you, the buyer, you disclose that you had the money of that amount. The price has gone up, speculation. Now, the point, what we need to do, what is the answer? Regulate these brokers and agents in the value chain. Number two, make it a bit more institutional for people to buy houses. Such that if I am going to buy a house from National Housing, the houses that have been built there, they are set standards and prices. And if National Housing is going to start selling houses over and above the market, as an institution, it can be checked by the mother ministry, Ministry of Lands, Housing and Urban Development. It's answerable.
I was actually about to ask you, are there any regulatory systems or regulatory ways that we can curb this, because it's affecting our real estate market currently?
Exactly. And that brings us to just last November, when we're ending the year. We have the real estate bill coming up from the Ministry of Lands to regulate both the businesses and the agents, the practitioners.
Yes.
So that if I'm putting houses on the market, they should be of a certain standard and a certain price. So that the public is able to know and say a 2-bedroom apartment in this kind of location should not go be above this and that. And if it is over and above, there should be reasons and justification. Either it's cost of materials, or there's inflation in the country, or there is something that has triggered it. COVID came in and things are not moving, the value chain of logistics coming up. There must be justification that now the house is pushing from 200 to 250
because of A, B, C, D.
Yes.
With commercial, it's not so much of a need. I can decide to take my business home and trade from my house online and all that.
Yes.
But with it affecting the commercial, what would you say we need to do to see that we make this better? And when we look at our commercial right now, what are the rates of occupancy as opposed to vacancy?
I can tell you what we also need to do in the commercial space is classify the buildings. We know there is a methodology in buildings in the commercial space: class A, class B, class C, class D. This is a method that is known, and based on that, we have actually a price per square meter. If you go to the bills of quantities.
Yes.
So class A should be this X per square meter to construct that building. That brings us into the building cost, plus the land cost, and that brings us the total value of the building, of course, benchmarking it with the market value. So classification of the buildings, that's number one. If I'm a developer coming into the market, I'm entering to build what class of building? That will define my price. If I don't do that, then it means it will be very hard for any Minister of Lands or whoever is overseeing that sector to say, look, you're going above and you're charging people more. Number two, when you're talking about occupancy, that's what the problem. So the vacancies are there because probably we built too much without studying the market. And remember, the other thing is traffic jam has pushed people outside the CBD. Offices are moving into neighborhoods. So you find the people, instead of renting square meters on Kampala Road, they go to Bugolobe and rent a residential house and turn it into office. Real estate is not only about a building. It's about the ecosystem, the mobility of people, the recreation. How do people move from where they live to the offices? That is a factor. If they have children, the kindergartens, how far is where they work to where their children are going to school? So if we want to have a very organized, transparent, more logical real estate industry, zoning and what we call self-contained neighborhoods have to develop. A place must develop. Like Accra was a good model, but it has no commercial center.
Yes.
So I live in Accra. It's beautiful for residential, but if there was a commercial center also around it, then I can work there, sleep there, stay there. Then we need those kind of satellite towns. But of course, that's far away from us, but we can achieve it. For now, yes, the places are empty in the CBD because it takes you only maybe 2 hours or 3 hours. We call it only for us now to reach from Zambia, if possible, to Kampala Road. Why should I stay there? I will get an office in Zambia.
In Zambia, yes, true.
Then the building will be empty at Yusufurule. It's a simple logic.
As we're concluding, Mr. Vincent, what do you have to say the rate in which investment in real estate in Uganda has declined? If you notice, we're not having so much of expatriates coming to invest in Uganda. Why is this?
That one is bigger, Christabel. It's have to do with the macroeconomics of the country. And people in economics will tell you, we have what we call, for example, Financial Intelligence Authority. It's at money laundering and financing terrorism. That institution was set up. How many days does it take? How conducive and quick and fast for us to do business? The other issue is, of course, the element of corruption. This is what goes around the world. Uganda is corrupt or is not corrupt. The issue is, what message do we send? So therefore, no worries. We shall still sail through. Housing and real estate will still remain, but let us wait for 2026, and we pray that all is well. 2027, we are back in business.
Thank you so much for sparing time to have that too.